Good morning, I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Angela, and we are the Castros.
We bring you the news.
And the views that make you think.
Sometimes we agree.
Sometimes we don't.
This is News and Views.
And here are today's headlines.
The public is now allowed to pay their final respects to Pope Francis at St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican.
The Marcos administration announces 20 peso rise, fulfilling the president's promise during his campaign. Defense
Secretary Gibo Chodoro says the Chinese government, not the Philippines, is the leading cause of xenophobia.
Filipino employees are the most engaged in Southeast Asia, yet also the loneliest and most likely to be job hunting, according to the latest State of the Global Workplace report.
First in the news, the Second General Congregation of Cardinals took place Wednesday afternoon at the Vatican. The meeting began with prayers for the late Pope Francis, and those absent from Tuesday's session were sworn in. A major outcome of the gathering was the approval of the Novem Diales program, a 9-day period of mourning for Pope Francis. The Cardinals also confirmed the suspension of all beatifications until a new pope is elected and selected a 3-member commission to assist in church governance during the sede vacante. As of Wednesday evening, around 20,000 people had paid their respects to the late pope.
The Vatican is considering keeping the St. Peter's Basilica open beyond midnight for the public viewing of Pope Francis. Jovi Francisco reports.
The Italian police announced that more than 25,000 people visited St. Peter's Square Wednesday, the first day of public viewing for Pope Francis. Because of this, the Vatican announced it is considering extending the opening hours of the Basilica beyond midnight. People kept arriving at the square to fall in line and catch a glimpse of the Pope's remains. The long queue culminates inside the Basilica. By the time the faithful reach the Pope's altar, they may have endured at least 3 hours lining up. But for most of them, the long wait is all worth it. It was a chance for them to pray and say thanks to the Pontiff.
Malungkot kasi ama natin siya. Malaking dagok din, kawalan, pero tatanggapin natin ang kaloob ng Diyos. Kami naman po ay natutuwa na kami po ay nandito na kasama po ng lahat ng mga Pilipino ay nagdiriwang din ng jubileo.
Sobrang lungkot po, nakakabigla. Hindi mo akalain dahil last appearance pa siya. Yung pala nahihirapan na siya nun.
Foreign and local media were allowed to enter the Basilica and cover the public viewing. The Vatican Press Office shared that more than 8,000 members of the media applied for accreditation to cover the funeral of Pope Francis. Outside the Basilica, work is underway to ensure order during the interment of Pope Francis this Saturday. Chairs and sections for world leaders and leaders of the religious sector are already in place. Safety barricades, portalets, and scaffolding can also be seen around the square.
Reporting from the Vatican, Jovi Francisco. We are One News.
Let's discuss the recent developments following the death of Pope Francis.
Now joining us via Zoom is Father Arnel Bahian from the Archdiocese of Cagayan de Oro. He's taking a licentiate in fundamental theology at the Pontifical Gregorian University in Rome. Magandang umaga po mula dito sa Pilipinas, Father.
Magandang umaga po, Ma'am, at saka Sir, at sa lahat po ng mga nanonood po sa programang ito.
Father, hingi po kami ng update po sa inyo kung nakita nyo na po, kasama po ba kayo doon sa ilang mga Pilipino na sumama doon po sa public viewing sa mga labi ni Santo Papa sa St. Peter's Basilica?
Yes po, kahapon po ako po at saka yung kasama kong pare ay kami po ay naglinya po doon, kasabay po ng lahat ng mga tao na gusto pong maka-pay homage po sa mortal remains po ng Holy Father Francis. Medyo matagal-tagal po kasi nagsimula kaming maglinya mga around 2:30 p.m. Nakapasok kami mga 7:30 p.m. na po. So,
tagal din.
mahigit 5 oras din po.
Mm-mm.
Pero kahit marami kaming nag-line up, nandun pa rin yung silence at saka yung mode na nag-offer ng mga prayers. Yung iba naman may mga nagkukwentuhan, nag-sharing ng mga reflection nila habang naglilinya po. Kaya po marami-rami po. Kahit nang paalis na kami, marami pa rin ang mga naglinya.
How did you feel po, Father, when finally, after 5 hours or so, nakapasok po kayo at yun nga po, nasilayan niyo po yung labi ni Pope Francis?
Personally po, ako po ay feel blessed at saka para bang natutuwa rin dahil dinala ko po yung mga prayers ng mga kakilala ko galing po dyan sa atin. Yung mga gusto po sanang makapunta dito pero hindi nakapunta. Kaya pinopost ko po sa Facebook po na lahat po kayo mga kaibigan, dinala ko po yung sorrows and prayers ninyo sa paglapit ko po sa mga labi ni Pope Francis.
Father, sorry.
Yes po.
No, go ahead, Father. Go ahead.
Yeah, so isa pong blessing ang makadalo. Subalit inisip ko rin po na ako po ay isang tulay din po at saka instrumento para yung mga hindi po makapunta in person ay inisip ko po na ako po yung nag-represent sa kanila. Yung mga faithful po galing sa Pilipinas, sa Archdiocese namin sa Cagayan de Oro, yung mga nag-work, nagsiserve po sa mga chapels. Sila po ay mga mahihirap, hindi po makapunta dito. Subalit yung paniniwala nila, yung pagsasamba nila sa Panginoon bilang Roman Catholics ay tunay po. Kaya I'm considering myself as also representing them and bringing their sentiments closer to the mortal remains of the Holy Father.
Yung Father, ano yung general feeling ng mga tao? Kasi na-experience mo yung pagpila, no? Ano yung atmosphere? Kasi para lang at least mga sa amin dito sa Pilipinas, malaman namin ano yung mga pakiramdam or sentiments sa mga tao ngayon. Napabalot pa ba ng kalungkutan, Father? Or may mga karamihan na may positive outlook na rin?
Parang mix na rin yung mood based on my experience yesterday sa linya po. Yun po, parang may iba po makita natin, may ilan na lumuluha po. Meron din namang iba na nakatitig lang po, naghawak ng rosary beads, nagdarasal. Meron din namang iba na pagkatapos masilayan po ang mga labi ng Santo Papa ay pumupunta po sa gilid ng mga side chapels para po makapag-pray in silence. Meron din naman po mga pumupunta na parang hindi rin po mga Christians, pero kaibigan po ng Holy Father kasi si Pope Francis po ay isa pong modelo ng ecumenism at saka interreligious dialogue.
That's right.
So, meron din pong pumupunta na hindi mga Christians pero ano din po sila, nagtitiis din po mag-line up para lang po maka-pay homage po sa kay Pope Francis din po. So, yung mood po, parang mixed din po. Yung iba naman ay parang nagpapasalamat din dahil yung pinakita ni Pope Francis sa simula hanggang sa huli ay panay consistent po. Yung simplicity ng buhay niya, yun po yung pagod niya for peace for the whole world. Ang iba naman po ay nagpapasalamat po sa gift of person at saka ministry po ni Pope Francis. Yan po yung naramdaman ko nung naglinya po. Ayan po.
Opo. It's good that you mentioned nga po na kayo po yung nagsisilbing, kumbaga, tulay doon po sa mga hindi makakapunta para po masilayan si Pope Francis sa huli, bago po siya ilibing. But how long have you been in Rome po, Father? I was wondering po kasi kung meron po kayong personal encounter with the Pope before or even naging bahagi po kayo ng papal audience. Meron po bang ganun, Father?
Yung first encounter ko po kay Pope Francis ay hindi po in person, pero doon po sa sinulat niya na encyclical na Laudato Si.
Yes.
Kasi po, minsan po ako naging director ng bagong komisyon ng Archdiocese, ng Commission on Integral Ecology. Doon po sa pag-iingat po at pag-care po ng ating kalikasan.
Yes.
Nabasa ko po yung encyclical niya, doon ko po naintindihan kung ano po yung mga pananaw niya sa buhay. Yun po yung nais po niyang ibahagi na yung pagmamahal po sa lahat ng tao dahil mahal tayo ng Diyos. Pati na rin po sa creation na ginawa ng Diyos ay kailangan din po nating ingatan. Nung makapunta ako dito sa Roma last year para po magsimula sa pag-aaral, ay first ko po sa nakita sa isang audience po during Angelus. So, my personal experience was I was emotional during that time kasi hindi ko rin po naman maisip na makapunta dito. By God's providence po, nakapunta dito. At saka kasabay po sa providence na yan, ayun po yung responsibility po na mag-aral po. At saka yung encounter ko po kay Pope Francis ay para bang kasabay na rin na tingnan yung smile niya kasi yung ngiti ni Pope Francis po ay marami pong na-welcome sa beauty ng Christianity dahil po sa ngiti po ni Pope Francis. Katulad din ng mga ngiti ng mga naunang papa po ng simbahan. Kaya po makikita po kasi natin si Pope Francis, ako personal nakita ko rin na malapit siya sa mga bata, malapit din siya sa mga matatanda, malapit siya sa mga world leaders, pero malapit din naman siya sa mga walang title po sa ating community. Kumbaga,
yes po, Father. Nawala.
Maganda yung mga message ni Father about life of Pope Francis, of course, and of course his closeness to yung environment, the environment, diba? A lot of people you talk to will say that he really passionately cares for the environment, no? Which is one of his thrusts aside from social justice,
yes,
and also being more on doing pastoral work, meaning nasa street level ang kanyang pagpipreach.
Kumbaga sabi nga nila si Pope Francis, he encouraged coexistence, no?
Yes.
Nilapit niya yung mga tao together.
Yeah.
Even outside the Catholic Church, diba? Catholic faith.
Each Pope kasi may kanya-kanyang strength and message, diba? You have si John Paul is bringing back the faithful from the dark period of the Church. Then you have Benedict strengthening yung mga doctrines. And now you have Pope Francis linking the people.
Yeah, humanizing the concept
Church,
of Catholic. But unfortunately, we can't get
signal.
Father Arnel from Rome. But thank you so much po, Father, for your time. And we appreciate po yung mga sharings po na binigay niyo sa amin.
That was Father Arnel Bahian in Rome.
Yan. Again ang mga labi po ni Pope Francis ay nasa St. Peter's Basilica for public viewing. Actually, sabi nga nila itong confirmation of death ni Pope Francis ay nasa tatlong stage na ginawa nila. First is the preparation of the body, second is the public viewing, and third is the funeral, which will be held on Saturday.
Meanwhile, President Bongbong Marcos and First Lady Liza Marcos will attend the funeral of Pope Francis in the Vatican City. Palace Press Officer Under Secretary Claire Castro confirmed the President's attendance. The funeral is scheduled for Saturday, April 26. In a previous statement, Marcos described the 88-year-old pontiff as the best pope. President Bongbong Marcos has declared a period of national mourning to honor Pope Francis.
On Wednesday, Marcos declared a period of national mourning effective immediately until the burial of the Pope on Saturday. The president cited the late pontiff's enduring legacy, describing him as a global symbol of humility, compassion, and peace. He also underscored the deep bond between Pope Francis and the Filipino people, recalling his historic apostolic visit to the country in 2015. Okay, so a lot of world leaders have already expressed yung kanilang confirmation ng kanilang pagdalo.
President Trump also.
Oo, sa magiging libing ni Pope Francis sa Saturday.
Si Volodymyr Zelensky
yes,
will also
and
be
of
there.
Course, and I think sa UK naman, it is going to be Prince William.
Prince William
was going to be representing his father.
Ang tinitignan nila is pero kasi si Vladimir Putin has arrest warrants kasi sa ICC, but it is known that very rarely does Vladimir Putin engage in a discussion.
And I think
it's very rare, but
merong statement.
I know.
Spokesperson.
I know. I'm saying it is very, very rare that he engages in a discussion. But when Pope Francis had an opportunity to talk to him, nag-usap daw talaga sila for a long time. And si Putin was sincerely daw, according to reporters, he was sincerely interested in what the Pope had to say.
I was gonna say na his spokesperson, sabi nga nila, wala silang interest to go here because of the current, because he is a current subject of the ICC arrest warrant. So, yung meron siyang limitation sa paggalaw niya. That's why definitely we won't be seeing him there. But other leaders, of course, will be there. All right, we'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. The University of Santo Tomas is honoring the memory of Pope Francis by displaying several items he used during his 2015 visit to the campus. For more details, we have mobile journalist Evan Tarinque. Hi, Evan. Ano-ano bang mga memorabilia ang makikita natin dyan?
Angela, naka-display dito sa main building ng University of Santo Tomas ang ilang mga memorabilia na ginamit ni Pope Francis noong 2015 papal visit. Actually, sa likod ko, kung matatanaw nyo, ikot na lang natin, puntahan na lang natin. Nasa likuran ko, actually, ito yung main display nung ilang mga memorabilia si Pope Francis. Makikita natin. Ito, yung papal chair. Nalapitan lang natin. Ito yung papal chair na inupuan ni Pope Francis noong 2015, nung pagpunta niya dito. Ayon sa ating mga nakausap, ito daw ay ginawa ng ilang manlililok mula sa may Laguna. Pastor bonus, ibig sabihin daw niyan ay Good Shepherd. Pagdating naman dito sa may case basket, ito, sa may glass case ito, makikita dito yung ball pen na ginamit ni Pope Francis. Meron din siya ditong itong personal message, dito sa may papel. Ang nakalagay dyan sa personal message na iyan ay, may the Lord bless all those studying and working for a culture of encounter. Simulan dyan mismo ni Pope Francis nung bumisita siya dito sa UST noong 2015. Ito naman yung kanyang logbook kung saan siya nagpumirma. At ito naman yung kanyang UST ID na niya nung pagpunta niya dito. Naglagay rin yung UST ng isang libro, kung saan pwedeng maglagay ng dedication ng ilang mga estudyante o kung sino mang bumisita dito, pwede sila magsulat ng message nila para kay Pope Francis. Diego, Angela?
Yes, Evan, magkakaroon ba ang UST ng mass or activities in the next few days?
Tama ka dyan, Diego, na magkakaroon tomorrow ng mass dito sa UST, sa may Santissimo Parish, open yan for that time, pero they are sure na magkakaroon ng misa commemorating itong pagpanaw ni Pope Francis bukas.
Open ba for public, Evan, yung exhibit na yan? Pwede ba kahit sino pumunta dyan?
Tama ka doon, Angela. Itong exhibit ito ay open for public, no? Simula 6 a.m. ng umaga hanggang 9 p.m. ng gabi, no? So usually yung mga tao pupunta dito ay kailangan lang nila magdala ng ID, no? Ipapakita yan sa guard at maglalagay sila doon sa ilang mga security points dito sa loob ng eskwelahan. At pati dito, pagpasok sa main building, meron security guard, may mga security personnel. So ipapakita nila yan, maglalagay sila para ma-document yung kanilang pagpasok dito. Pero itong exhibit na ito is open for public. Yun nga, no, inaanin yung mga ibang tao na pumunta dito, magdasal, mag-alay ng dasal, mag-alay ng message para nga kay Pope Francis. Angela.
Yan, Evan, kasi yung baka kasi yung mga ibang viewers natin na hindi naabutan si Pope Francis yung importance kasi ng UST, nandiyan nangyaring interfaith prayers with other religions, no? Which is one of the first of its kind sa Catholic faith, and also yung nagkaroon ng yung ecumenical meeting among non-Christian leaders, no? But nakalagay ba dyan with pictures or at least mga stories dyan sa display na yan dyan about what happened when he visited UST?
Actually, Diego, no, kung pupuntahan natin dito, meron nakalagay dito yung dedicated na coffee table book kung saan may kita ito may kita yung pumunta siya dito sa UST, no, may kita yung mga tao, yung pagsama niya dito sa mga kabataan, no, alam naman natin na si Pope Francis ay talagang malapit sa youth, no?
Yes.
Kita natin ito, may kita natin hawak kamay yung ilang mga bataan muli, no? So itong coffee table book na to nilagay rin dito. So dito basically nakalagay yung mga documentation nung pagbisita ni Pope Francis.
Pati sa Tacloban.
Yeah. Oo.
Kita natin.
Medyo nawawala ka, Evan.
Evan, pihit ng konti. Sayang yung sinasabi.
Nakasakay siya doon sa Pope Mobile.
Yan.
Basang-basa ng ula, Diego.
Yeah, Evan, yung book na yan, is that for display or do they have also copies of that book na pwede i-bilin?
Yes, Diego. Itong book na to actually is for display. Nandito lang yan sa may dito yan sa mismong UST Museum, no? Pero we're still checking if kung pwede bang makabili yung public nitong yung librong ito kasi napakadaming documentation, napakaraming litrato. Basically, yung kabuuhan ng trip ni Pope Francis dito sa Pilipinas mula from punta niya dito sa UST, pagpunta niya ng Tacloban, pagpunta niya ng Manila Cathedral, and nandito sa loob ng coffee table book. At for sure, maraming mga Katoliko ang gustong makakita at ma-experience or ma-relive yung moment na iyan.
Oo. Evan, very quickly lang para lang mas malinaw tayo, malaman natin mga kapatid, hanggang kailan ulit yung exhibit na yan?
Angela, itong exhibit na ito is open until Saturday, no, bago nga ilibing itong si Pope Francis. At open nga ito from 6 a.m. in the morning and hanggang 9 p.m. ng gabi. Pero paalala, syempre, mas mapupunta, magdala po ng ID dahil bawat security checks dito sa university ay hinihinga nila ng ID at maglalag ka sa mga logbooks para makapasok dito sa may museum. Right. Angela.
Okay, maraming salamat, mobile journalist Evan Tarinque.
Alright, one agri-group says the government may need to shell out over 4 billion pesos a month to sustain the 20 peso rise. Here's the report.
3 years into Bongbong Marcos's presidency, the Department of Agriculture announced the implementation of the sale of rice at 20 pesos per kilo, which will be piloted in Visayas. DA Secretary Francisco Tio Laurel made the announcement after a closed-door meeting with the President and 12 Visayas governors at the Cebu provincial capital. Laurel said the initiative is a pilot run for a larger national rollout.
Initially, itong program ng DA was supposed to last for until December. And pwede pang stretch siya hanggang February. But our President has given the directive to the Department of Agriculture to formulate this to be sustainable and ituloy-tuloy hanggang 2028.
But in an interview in Negros Oriental today, Vice President Sara Duterte cast doubts on the initiative. She questions the timing, with elections just around the corner.
Meron akong pagdududa na magbebenta sila ng 20 pesos per kilo na bigas pero hindi pang tao, pang hayop. Well, hindi ko alam kung anong motibo nila. Baka binubudol na naman nila yung mga tao sa 20 pesos per kilo na bigas. At magdududa ka dahil bakit Visayas lang? Hindi ba nagugutom yung mga tiga Mindanao? Hindi ba nagugutom yung mga tiga Luzon?
Meanwhile, Sinag Executive Director Jason Cainglet expressed support for the DA's plan to sell rice at 20 pesos per kilo. On the big story, Cainglet called it a good initiative aimed at lowering food costs for consumers. But he said the government needs to shell out over 4 billion pesos a month to sustain the program.
How much and how sustainable would this 20 pesos be in the light that from the producer side po kasi, ang aming basis for yung presyo sa market is how much yung cost niya sa farm gate. Ibig sabihin, magkano yung gastos talaga ng mga magkasaka sa pagtatanim ng palay at magkano niya dapat itong ibinebenta na hindi siya malulugi. Definitely, pag 20 pesos yung bigas, lugi yung farmer kasi dapat maibebenta niya yung palay niya sa 10 pesos to get 20 pesos rice. But as explained, isa-subsidize to ng government and we're hoping na isa-subsidize talaga para hindi po maapektuhan yung presyo ng palay sa ating mga magsasaka.
Now, is rice this cheap feasible in the long run?
Well, to answer that, we have, excuse me, Leonardo Montemayor, Chairman of the Federation of Free Farmers, is joining us now on Zoom. Sir, thank you very much for joining us here on News and Views.
Magandang umaga po.
Opo, good morning also. Thank you for the invitation to express our concerns with respect to the 20 peso rice initiative, the President.
Right.
That's right, sir.
Starting in the Visayas.
Okay, sir. Let's get right to it now. Kasi initially, we know that this was a campaign promise. It was very vague, but ang understanding natin is in the general sense, every Filipino would be able to buy rice about 20 pesos per kilo. But mukhang idadaan ito sa mga kadiwa stores. So ano ang magiging pros and cons nito?
Well, una po sa lahat, kasi nataon din na nagbi-meeting po kami sa aming taunang konbensyon ng Federation of Free Farmers, FFF, at ng aming magsasaka party list. At nagkaisa po kami na unang-una, wini-welcome namin itong initiative ng ating Pangulo na ipatutupad ng Department of Agriculture at saka ng NFA na magkaroon po ng 20 pesos per kilo rice na ipapamahagi po sa ating mga nangangailangan na mga kababayan. So we welcome the idea of supporting, especially our poor countrymen and women. At the same time, we wish to express our concern as to the sustainability of this initiative. Because in our own initial calculations, for every kilo of rice that will be sold by the National Food Authority at 20, the corresponding actual costs to the government through the National Food Authority in terms of the procurement of palay at 23 to 24 pesos per kilo, plus the milling cost, warehousing cost and all that, our estimate would be that the actual production costs of NFA will be about 45 pesos per kilo. So that for every kilo sold at 20, the loss to the government through the NFA would be about 25 pesos per kilo. So the question is, how big a loss or budgetary cover is government willing to shoulder in order to make that 20 pesos rice affordable? And over how long a period would that be possible?
Okay, initial plan daw po nila is until the end of this year, pero they're also looking at until 2028, diba? So, base po dun sa sinabi nyo, talagang this is going to be heavily subsidized by the government. At in essence po, manggagaling din naman po yun sa tax ng mga tao. Tama po?
Tama po yun. Hindi ko alam, first of all, hindi ko alam exactly ilan bang targeted na consumers dito po sa Visayas. Eventually, no? I'm just making a ballpark guess. Let's say yung pong poor consumers in the Visayas would be about 1 million persons. So 1 kilo, ang lugi ng gobyerno po dyan is 25 pesos. You multiply that by 1 million, that's 25 million pesos loss or subsidy to government on a daily basis. So you compute that over 30 days, that's easily 750 million back subsidy.
Yes.
Just for the 1 million consumers in the Visayas, and in 1 year, that's over 8 billion pesos. Now, if you want to expand the program to the entire Philippines, we're talking here about tens of billions of subsidy cover. I do not know ganong kahaba yung PC po ng gobyerno to be able to finance or sustain
that's right.
that big subsidy for our consumers.
Sir, it looks like when you're mentioning the computations, and also I've seen briefly seen in computations ng government, it looks like malaki-laki ang igagastos nito if you were to expand it away from the Visayas and all the way to the north and also Mindanao. Ang question ko, sir, isn't this merely a stopgap measure just to be able to fulfill that campaign promise? And hindi ba dapat daw, tulad sinasabi ng iba, this money that you're going to end up spending, sana nagkaroon ka na lang ng development in terms of upgrading yung skills ng farmers, upgrading all the equipment that they have, research, R&D of new technology, of new varieties of rice, cheaper options. Hindi ba dapat yun na lang daw po ang ginawa?
Tama po kayo dyan. Actually, I have two main responses to this. Number one, I think ang pinaka-immediate reason why the DA in particular is resorting to this 20 pesos kasi talagang nahirapan po silang i-dispose ang kanilang existing, especially old stocks.
Okay.
Remember, around March, nag-declare si Secretary Laurel ng DA ng Rice Food Security Emergency Declaration.
Yes.
At nag-o-offer po ang DA through the NFA ng bigas, 33 pesos per kilo sa mga LGUs, provided i-resell po ng LGUs at 37. Unfortunately, kukunti ang LGUs na sumali sa programa. So I believe up to now, it's only about 20,000 bags of rice that have been bought by the LGUs versus ang gusto ng NFA na i-dispose, I think 300 or 400,000 bags of rice. Napakalit yung pagpasok ko ng LGU. So in the meantime, habang tumatagal, nagiging mas luma ang mga bigas, mga palay sa NFA. Pag nasira po yan, lalong malaki ang gastos ng NFA. Tapos, hirap na hirap po silang makabili ng bagong stocks kasi puno-puno yung bodega So I think this would be probably the most immediate reason why they are now trying to unload rice by selling it now at 20 per kilo. Of course, it has the shall we say beneficial side effect of telling the public that bahagi ito ng pagpapatupad ng pangako ng ating Pangulo na magkaroon ng 20 pesos more affordable rice sa ating pong mamamayan. But on the second point, when you raised, I agree with you po. Perhaps we have to rethink this whole whether it's worth spending all that money solely for the subsidy for rice. When perhaps it can be better put to use to more lasting approaches, increasing farmers' productivity and efficiency, increasing their rice output, and then bringing down the production cost, eventually to make rice more affordable on a lasting basis.
Yun nga po, sir. I was wondering nga po, how is this going to affect our farmers? Knowing na ito lang palang gagamitin nila yung mga old stocks nila sa NFA.
Opo, tama po kayo kasi ang mga trader po kasi natin, by the way, ang NFA is only able to buy at most 5% of total total production. So the rest, 95% sa mga private one po yan, trader. They are also observing. Kasi pag patuloy po yung pamamahagi po ng bigas ng NFA at 20, ang katumbas po na presyo po ng palay ng 10 piso bawat kilo Please recall that right now the production cost for 1 kilo is about 15. So meaning to say, kung ang magiging farm gate price ng palay ay 10 piso, ang gastos mo ng farmer ay 15. Di lugi ang farmer, bawat kilo 5 piso. So baka kukunti na lang po ang farmer na magtatanim kasi kung magtatanim pa siya, the result will be only to incur more losses.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, better talaga gamitin po itong malaking bahagi ng pondo na ito na gagamitin sa rice subsidy, as you said, for measures that will improve the efficiency and productivity of rice production.
Well, sir,
bring down the price.
That's right. But let's say hypothetically, sir, this expands nationwide. Ano po magiging reaction ng market dito given siyempre, although we understand usually mag-avail nito yung mga namimili sa Kadiwa stores, but how will the other traders then sell? Will they be forced to adjust their prices and take a hit just so that to compete with possible na mga kliyente na mawawala?
Yeah, a general tendency I think is it will pull down the buying price by traders of palay from the farmers at farm gate. Opo. So talagang maapektan po yung yung kita ng ating mga farmers.
Talagang chain reaction, ika nga. Pero sir, I want to touch up a little lang po yung political optics nito. Why do you think inuna yung Visayas? And why do you think na yung timing po, do you think also yung timing nito sa election po, incoming election?
It's hard to make political assessments. Pero in terms of the timing, shall I say, I'll put it this way, better late than never. Dapat, kumbaga, last year pa sana ginawa na ito kasi naiwasan sana na puno-puno yung bodega ng NFA rice ngayon. Kaya hirap na hirap po silang mamili ng palay po sa farmers natin. So sana noon pa, last year. But be that as it may, inisip po nilang gawin ito ngayon. Okay, yung mga makikinabang dito, nakababayan natin, makakabili ng 20, well and good. And as I said kanina, meron po sigurong side effect. Whether it's deliberate or not, depende na po siguro sa assessment. It helps fulfill to some extent the promise of the President na magkakaroon po ng 20 pesos.
Pero sir, para malinaw lang, what variety po ang ibibenta for 20 pesos? I mean, how many...
Have you seen the quality?
Yeah, ano yung quality? How many % broken ito?
Hindi ko alam ang exact variety ngayon na binibenta ng NFA, but they have to be very careful. And in this regard, I fully agree with the Vice President.
Yeah.
Na i-make sure natin na talagang edible at saka kapaki-pakinabang po para sa mga tao na bibili po ng NFA rice. Huwag naman po yung masyado pong hindi magandang kulay, may katigasan po yung bigas, pagka nasaing po yan, hirap na hirap pong kainin. So, you have to be very careful that although it's gonna be a very inexpensive rice, it doesn't mean that it will be poor quality rice. Just because ang bibili po na ang ating mahirap na kababayan.
Can you enlighten us, sir, kasi as you were saying kanina, one factor could be why are they doing this, could be para ma-distribute nila yung mga stocks nila sa NFA. And I understand also that there's a need also na para kumita ang gobyerno natin. Pero hindi po ba ang dami po natin mga kababayan na nasalanta ng bagyo last year, hindi po ba maigi na lang na i-donate po nila yon instead na pinabayaan mabulok doon?
Pwede pong ganyan, yes. Kung especially if it's in a very deteriorated state already, of course, i-re-rebel po yan. At kung there's a way to dispose of that, especially during calamities. Actually, during calamities naman, libre po yan dinadala lang nila sa DSWD and also LGUs.
Para nga hindi siya naluma doon, di ba?
Yeah, pero sir, moving forward...
Yes, kasi kung tumagal talaga yan, talagang wala na pong halaga yung stocks na yan. So, habang maaga pa siguro, may panahon pa, that's why they're gonna sell it now at very low price of 20 pesos.
So I'd like to ask also, moving forward, do we need to rethink yung function ng NFA and maybe give them more teeth or powers
Ibalik sa
in kung ibalik sa kanila kung ano yung original mandate nila?
Yeah, I believe so, and we agree with that. Kasi ang naging problema kasi natin noong 2019, nung ipinasa yung rice tariffication law, masyado pong tinanggalan po ng kapasidad, I would say kinapon ng NFA. Kasi nawalan po yung function na ginagawa dati ng NFA na masuportahan yung ating mga palay farmer by aggressively buying their palay at a decent price, so farmers will not will not lose money. And then on the other side of the coin, pagka may mga lugar, hirap na hirap yung ating mga kababayan, mahal masyado yung private commercial rice, kaya pong isubsidize po ng NFA yung benta po ng bigas nila at a lower price for consumers. So I think that has to be restored in some way, but provide also the necessary safeguards to prevent abuses on the part of some NFA personnel, which was the case before.
Yes.
Alright, on that note, maraming salamat po muli sa inyong oras, Leonardo Montemayor, ang Chairman of the Federation of Free Farmers. Thank you so much po.
Wala pong anuman. Salamat din po.
The Commission on Elections opened a precinct finder platform for the 2025 national and local elections. Here's the report.
The Commission on Elections has launched its Precinct Finder website ahead of the 2025 midterm elections. It can be accessed at precinctfinder.comelec.gov.ph. By entering basic information such as name, birth date, and registration details, voters can easily find their designated precinct. Voters can also verify their registration status, including whether it is active or deactivated.
Dapat po eksakto yung pangalan. Dapat po kumpleto yung pangalan. At therefore po kapag hindi kasi kumpleto, hindi po makikita yung record.
However, some users experienced connection issues upon launch. Comelec explained that this was not a glitch, but a strategy to prevent hacking attempts.
Alam naman po natin, yung Precinct Finder ay naglalaman po ng lahat ng pangalan ng mga botante sa buong Pilipinas. Kasama na rin yung mga basic information. Kung may sobrang massive ang resources, dapat hindi natin sila mabigyan ng sapat na panahon para ma-hack nila yung sistema.
The poll body assured that measures are in place to safeguard against cyber attacks.
Yung aming mga tauhan ay in-enroll namin sa mga cybersecurity schools. Number 1. Number 2, nag-create kami ng cybersecurity divisions.
Comelec is also hoping that at least 70% of the over 68 million registered voters in the country will actually vote come Election Day. In previous midterm elections, voter turnout only reached about 63 to 65%.
Yung interest ng mga Pilipino, pagka midterms, wala kasing president at walang vice. So disregard na lang po nila yung midterm election. Pag na-accomplish namin yung 70, kahit paano, magandang pwedeng pagbasihan na natin sa mga susunod na election natin.
Meanwhile, the verification of remaining ballots is nearing completion, with distribution targeted by April 30. Automated counting machine distribution is expected to be completed by May 1. For News 5, JC Cosico, We Are One News.
The Comelec has issued a show-cause order to senatorial candidate Camille Villar. The poll body is requiring her within 3 days to explain an allegation of vote buying. The incident in question was from a February 16 Facebook post where Villar attended a Cavite sortie. In the caption, local candidates thank Villar for providing joy and surprises to more than 2,000 people. Prior to the show-cause order released on Wednesday, Villar denied all allegations of vote buying.
Yan na. Pinag-usapan natin
yesterday,
kahapon.
kasi the question was, ang context daw is parang may palaro.
Yeah.
And then it was on Feb 9, 2 days prior to the actual campaign period. So
parang in essence kasi according sa rules, hindi pa siya official candidate.
Alright, yeah.
Till the official campaign starts.
And ang pinapoint out lang kasi ng ibang mga lawyers and pundits, well, you're skirting a gray area. Diba? So, ano nang gagawin natin?
Yeah.
Should we now...
and also, this is to make sure, to confirm na tama yung sinasabi nila na Feb 9 nga ito nangyari.
Feb 9, okay.
So, kailangan nila explain at patunayan.
Sige.
Okay.
Hey, don't go away because we're not done yet. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching News and Views here on One News.
The Defense Department downplays accusations of xenophobia or fear among Chinese. Secretary Ivo Teodoro said opposing China's unlawful actions is not xenophobic. He added that it's the Chinese government that causes xenophobia.
If ever there is xenophobia, gawa ng overreach ng Chinese Communist Party at Xi Jinping. I will say without hesitation that they are the main cause of xenophobia. Hindi dapat natin idamay ang taong bayan ng China dito sa ginagawa ng diktadorya ng Chinese Communist Party na nanira ng goodwill at anumang trust and confidence na dapat meron ang mga tao sa China.
Meanwhile, Teodoro confirmed that the second batch of BrahMos super missile is set to arrive in the country from India.
Ang aming ginagawa, na order nga ito, ngunit kung saan ito ilalagay at kung saan ito i-store, hindi nakahanda noon at aming inihabol at aming inihanda.
Well, it's true naman. You'll see naman also from posts and actually you'll hear other people that may nag-i-increase in terms of yung xenophobia, how people interact with each other, di ba? Which is not good because in general, hindi man kasalanan ng mga Chinese population kung what is happening because alam mo naman, although they're under the guise of a democracy, di ba? Yung supposedly a democracy, but who has been ruling them for the longest time? Na hindi walang change of leadership, di ba? And you have the Communist Party deciding everything.
Right.
So hindi kasalanan ng mga people who live in that country with what's happening. And if they believe in what is being told to them, nasa kanila yung West Philippine Sea, that's also not their fault because that is taught to them. Bata pa lang sila. That's inculcated into their DNA. Amin ito, di ba? And that's where I would say na magaling ang ginawa ng Chinese government is from the start, they educated their people na atin ito. And it's something also that we should have done, di ba, early on.
That's why we're doing it right now.
That's why we're doing it.
2016 Hague ruling.
Yes.
And right now, recognizing our West Philippine Sea through Google Maps.
But ang nagiging problema is even the younger generation don't even know yung nagiging, tulad yung pinagdaanan ko, yung Sabah. Diba, yung Sabah claims natin again with Malaysia, nobody knows about that because nakakaligtaan.
Kung meron man konti lang.
Parang sinasabi nila yung nangyayari sa Pilipinas that everything is based on media pag hindi na uso sa story or headliner. Pag nawawala, hindi na napag-uusapan. Where in fact, it should be in the educational system so that curriculum hindi nakakalimutan ng mga tao.
And also, I want to know what happened dun sa Filipino na na-detain at allegedly pinagbibintangan
we need an update on that.
na spies.
Yeah. All right. Well, in hot news, Pag-asa says at least 28 areas in the country are expected to experience danger level heat index today, April 24. Tuguegarao City, Cagayan tops the list with a projected heat index of 45 degrees Celsius. 6 other areas may record 44 degrees Celsius: Dagupan City, Pangasinan, Etiague, Isabela, Baler, and Casiguran, Aurora, Iba, Zambales, and Cavite City. Additionally, 13 areas including Bacnotan in La Union and Puerto Princesa City in Palawan are forecasted to experience a 43 degrees Celsius heat index. 8 areas are expected to reach a 42 degrees heat index, including Pasay City and Masbate City. Pag-asa urges the public to exercise extreme caution as the risk of heat stroke and other heat-related illnesses increases under such extreme temperatures.
Meanwhile, Filipinos are the most engaged employees in Southeast Asia, according to the latest State of the Global Workplace report. Among Filipino respondents, 38% said they were engaged at work, an increase from 2023. This was the highest rate among Southeast Asian countries surveyed. However, Filipinos are also the loneliest and the most likely to be job hunting. According to the survey, 3 in 10 saying they felt lonely for most of their workday. Well, apparently the factors could be the salary, they don't like what they're doing, or
and
the
you have to
people that they
remember,
are with, hindi nila...
a majority of Filipino workers are OFWs and they're away from their families, or call center agents which have a different time, working time, di ba? So they don't see their families anymore. So that contributes to that. But in sports, UAAP volleyball resumed after the Holy Week break with big wins for UST and LaSalle. In the men's division, UST swept their match in straight sets, led by MVP Josh Ibanez, who scored 15 points. LaSalle, meanwhile, outlasted Adamson in 4 sets, with Noel Campton delivering 26 points and anchoring the defense. Both teams now hold 9-4 records, while UP and Adamson are officially out of playoff contention. Now in women's volleyball, UST secured the last Final Four spot after sweeping UP. Middle blocker Emma Banagua led the charge for the Golden Tigresses. LaSalle leaned on their veterans to survive a gritty Adamson squad in a 5-set thriller. Oo.
May pakot ka ba?
Ha? Ay, hindi. Gusto ko lang sabihin kasi si Mio is part of Team Pilipinas. It's not the official Gilas, but it's representing the country.
Yes.
And they'll be leaving for Hong Kong tomorrow to represent the country in a tournament against other countries. So we're wishing them well, along with the entire team ownership, the coaches, and the delegation. Good luck, guys. And for now, that wraps up today's episode of News and Views.
And good luck. Join us again tomorrow. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro.
And I'm Angelo Castro III. We are One News.
All sides, all the time.